Okay, welcome everybody to tonight's chapter 6. We have one chapter after tonight, and that's it. So tonight, chapter 6 is talking about being your best self. Being your best self. This is a great chapter, and it's just going to be just a lot of good practical stuff, that we can apply to our Plexus business, but just apply to our lives, really. It's just some really great practical stuff. So I'm glad you guys joined in. I'm assuming that there'll be some more people jumping on with us. So why don't we just dive right in? Actually, before we get started tonight, any victories so far in I don't know, what the last 5, I guess we skipped a week, so the last 6 weeks. Have you guys enjoyed this book so far? Has there been some good stuff in here? Or yeah. I have underlined, I don't know, over half of the book, I think. So there's it's just really good practical stuff. But I like this book. It's an easy read, and there's just very simple, basic things. And a lot of them we know. There's a few things that we learned while we were doing this that were new to us, but really, I think a lot of this we already know. It's just a matter of the application. And it's a good reminder to have these reminders, that, we need to be doing these things. We need to be thinking in this way. We need to be challenging negative thoughts and things like that, the obstacles in our thinking. So just really good stuff. So page 77 is where we are, and we're just going to dive right in. So the first section, who has something there anything in the first section that stuck out to you guys?
On page 77, I guess I was surprised in the first paragraph and the last sentence, because that's not why I joined. I found fulfillment in other things, and I thought I was selling a product. So that really surprised me.
Okay, so let's explore that for a second, because Alex Hoffman has tons, over a decade of experience in network marketing. And he's saying in here, a large number of people enter this profession mainly because they want to become a better person. And they have heard that network marketing fulfills that need. I don't know. I've never used that approach as far as any sort of posting or marketing my business. But maybe if we did post or share, maybe educate people about the personal growth side of network marketing and how big it really is, maybe we would attract people that are into that or are looking for that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Justin. I guess for me, I guess I would question, if I was saying that to somebody else, I would wonder if they would think I was just saying that so that they would join my bandwagon, I'd wonder if they think it was genuine.
Is it? That's all that matters.
Well, yeah, oh wow, I don't even know what I'm doing. I would say now more so, but at the beginning, no, that would have just been a marketing tool, I guess.
Right. And I agree. I didn't join I had zero idea that the amount of growth that would come from this Plexus opportunity. I had no idea there would be any growth at all, to be honest with you. But I've said something before. Some people have asked me before. They said, well, if the Plexus were to just close their doors tonight, then what? like, well, a couple things. One, still be thankful because I had almost 6 years. Well, let's see, what in the world? Over 5 years now, home, and not only, so that's something to be grateful for, but I really like who I've become because of this business opportunity. Like, I really enjoy who I am, even as a Christian, how just how this opportunity has grown me. Like, I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And that's one of the top things for me about Plexus and why I enjoy this business, is because of who I've become. And I know that there's, just from posting and meeting people, I know that there's like whole industries of people that are into personal growth. Like, that's all they're into. And so, sorry. So I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe if this opportunity has been really great in our personal growth, and if we would post about that sometimes, I wonder if it would attract maybe a different group of people. I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to post about personal growth this week. I'm writing it down.
Do you feel like most of the people or companies you're saying that personal growth is a big deal, is it mostly within network marketing?
Yeah.
Or not exclusively to that?
I think, I don't know if it's exclusively network marketing. I think network marketing is unique, though. And I think because a lot of the personal growth doesn't necessarily come through reading the books. A lot of the personal growth, I think, comes from the conversations that we have with people all the time. Talking to people that tell you no. Like, there's so much, I think, growth that comes out of that. Plus, I've never been part of a organization or team or whatever where we talk constantly about goals, and we talk about dreams, and we talk about, causes things that cause us to think like beyond even where we are. Those things cause you to grow and to think in a different direction. So I think the network marketing is unique in that way, but I think even sales probably there would be a lot of personal growth along with sales as well. I just don't know if you would have the nurturing community like we have in that growth. Does that make sense? Like, I really think that we have a really special thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the team, maybe it's Plexus. I'm not sure, but my experience with it so far has been, it's been amazing.
I just feel like my friends, my family, most of the people that I know don't have a clue about personal development, or they've never given it a thought. And I would say probably the same thing for me, except for spiritually, maybe being a believer, you focus on growth and developing and maturing. But as far as apart from that personal growth, I never thought of it until I got involved with Plexus.
Yeah.
But it's huge to me. I feel like it's huge, the difference it makes in your life, and kind of opening up your eyes to the growth that you can have.
Yeah, I think that, and some people look at, some people even in the Christian world look at things like, personal growth or whatever, like it's a negative thing. And I'm thinking, man, I've got a book you should read because you really need it. Like, it's, and one of the crazy things is, and this is my own belief, is that all the personal growth industry is really a Bible knockoff. Like all the, like, quite honestly, all the thinking, the speaking, being grateful, being humble, loving people, serving people, those are all biblical principles. Like this is nothing new, right? Like, tell the truth, be honest, like all these things, they're all biblical principles. And if you read in Philippians chapter 4, that is basically all the personal, like a portion of all the personal growth books in the world. It's Philippians chapter 4. It's just some of the words have been changed. It's been repackaged so they can sell it and make a profit, right? So, and you're getting a different, someone's different perspective, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, it's the personal growth side of things is huge. I'm forever changed, quite honestly, because of this, and I'm a better Christian because of personal growth. So,
Well, I'll just pipe in really quickly. As a teacher, whenever we are, I would say as a whole teacher body, if we are talked to about personal growth, people just kind of roll their eyes, balk at it, find it as a waste of time. They really do. So I've enjoyed this part of it as well.
Well, let's, as we go through, I think that we'll touch on a few more things just on this, because this whole chapter is really about personal growth and about growing as a human being. And the next section on page 78, be humble. Be humbled. Anything, again, Christian principle, Philippians 2, right? So it's all right here. But anything stick out to you in that, in page 78 under being humble?
I like the quote by Stephen Covey. It takes humility to seek feedback. It takes wisdom to understand it, analyze it, and appropriately act on it. There's a lot in that sentence. If we can do all that, we'll be way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And seeking feedback takes humility. It takes vulnerability, and because we might get negative feedback. So, but if we really want to grow, we welcome that, right? Now, one thing I would say, be careful who you seek feedback from. It needs to be someone who's on your team, like not on your Plexus team, but like meaning someone who has your best interest in mind, not someone who's jealous or bitter or negative all the time. We probably don't want to seek feedback from them. But I think having people that you can ask and like, hey, what do you see in me? And one time I asked the kids that, back when I was working all these hours in construction, I was like, hey, if you could change one thing about me, what would it be? And I was thinking, the kids were little, and I was seeking feedback because I wanted to be, and I still want to be a good dad, right? And I have so much to learn. Like I don't know if you'll ever exhaust that. Like, it's always something new. And I asked them, and I thought they'd say, oh, you're just, number one dad and all this stuff, right? And they came back with like a list. And I thought, wow. And it hurt, some of it, but it was good for me, and they were just, some of the things were, you're always at work and you don't jump on the trampoline with this anymore. And I was like, but it hurt, and it was not, I wasn't being humble, I was humbled. Right, there's a difference. And but it helped me to grow, and I've never forgot that. I never forgot what they said, and I never forgot how it made me feel. And so it helped me to grow. So, when they told me that, I guess what I did? I took wisdom to understand it, analyze it, and appropriately act on it. So I went and jumped on the trampoline with them. fast, So, and that's how we grow. We admit that we don't know everything. And in Plexus, it's the same way. Well, I don't know everything. And I have not met anybody yet who does. Some know more than others, but one thing that stuck out to me, I'll just say this. Below that quote, it says, when you understand that it's not about you anymore, but about how you can help others achieve their dreams, then you are being your best self. And I agree with that. I think that when we're helping and serving other people, we're at our best. We feel the best. We have the most energy. It's just the way it is. And it says, it's not about how much money you make. It's not about how much you know. It's not about how much recognition you have received. It's not about how much you have traveled the world. It's about how many lives you have impacted and how many people you have served in your life. And I agree. I think that rank is important. I think we should have goals and we should shoot for personal goals, whatever those personal goals are for people. But really more important than, in my opinion, some of the best ambassadors in Plexus aren't diamonds. Like, they're the ones who love people well, and they're the ones who serve people. Those are the ones who 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, who will have made an impact, right? And really, a lot of this with Plexus, and really anything in life, it's about value. We honestly, how much value are we adding to people's lives? Like, I honestly don't care what rank people are. It means nothing to me. Like, I don't care. You either are treating people well or you're not. And, and some people have a big ego. I like what a rock and roll guy said one time. I heard him say, your ego is not your amigo. And so, but a lot of people get these things mixed up. Like, I'm a certain rank, so that means I'm this. Well, not necessarily. The real question is, how much value are we adding to people's lives? And so I think that's the important thing there. I remember when we first started Plexus, I saw an ambassador, a diamond ambassador. She's still a diamond ambassador. I'm not going to tell you her name, doesn't matter. We were at one of our first events, and I saw her treat a silver, I think, maybe a gold, on another team very poorly because of her rank. The girl went up, asked the diamond a question. The diamond looked down at her rank, looked back up at her, and walked off. And what it did to me was it made me mad. And I think Megan might have been a senior Ruby and I might have been a Ruby at that event. And anyway, sorry, I'm just going through the whole event in my mind here. But before that happened, Megan and I were talking to a silver ambassador. She was an Amish girl. And she wasn't on our team. We were just talking with her, just having a great time. And I don't know, just spending time with her. She was asking questions and we were talking to her. And then we went and saw this diamond treat this other girl this poorly. And I said to Megan, I said, when we're diamonds, I said, we will never do that, ever. And she agreed. I said, we'll always make time for the silver Amish girl who's not on her team asking questions. And that's been our attitude, and because we're no better than the silver. I think we're better than that one diamond, though. Yeah, so who knows? But yeah, that still makes me mad. She's a train wreck. Anyway,
But, like,
moving on.
Justin, I was gonna say, you started as a silver, I started as silver.
Yep.
Like, people forget, I think, even as a teacher, people forget as you become an administrator what it was to be a teacher. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just unfortunate, the whole event, but it taught me a lesson that it stuck with me for 5 years, over 5 years now. And I hope I never forget it. So anyway, it had to do with being humble, and humility, just serving and loving people. Next section on page 79 talks about be teachable. Be teachable. Did anything in this section stick out to you guys?
I think just that first sentence, that you need to unlearn the old habits that are not allowing you to grow. I think that is so powerful. And then further down when it says, when you open your heart and mind to learn and become teachable, the master will appear. And I have seen that over and over in my own life, spiritually, but then into this business. I just think that is so necessary to learn, and to really wrap your head around that you have things you have to unlearn. I have things I'm still unlearning, and that I'll always be growing. I think that's, again, it goes back to being humble and not becoming full of pride that, I've arrived. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all have things we need to unlearn. We got some bad wiring, along the way in certain areas, it's just the way it is, and I mean, I don't know, we thought margarine was good for a while. I don't, like there's so many things you learn, like you need to unlearn, right? Like there's so many things, we have to learn. And it's the same way when it comes to dealing with people. It's the same way. It's really the same way in dealing with ourselves. We have negative patterns in our own life that we have to one, recognize and then unlearn or undo them, and try to replace it with something better. And again, that, like you said, I think it's being humble again and being teachable. I think that those two things, they really go hand in hand. And be a lifelong learner. I think that's the case. And I'll share another story. I'm full of stories tonight. I went through this ministry series one time. It was for husbands. It was the best one I'd ever heard. It was really, really good. So I ordered like 50 of them, and I started handing them out at church, and I handed it out. And I had two guys, these were elders at this church, tell me, I already know everything there is about that. I don't need it. And I thought, wow there, shepherd. Wow. Anyway, they weren't teachable. I'm sure they have a lovely marriage. However, they just, they didn't want anything to do with it. They were just, anyway, throwing that out there. I don't want to be that way. Even in my Plexus business, I want to learn. I learn more all the time. The farther I go, the more I learn. And I agree with Albert Einstein on the top of page 80. It says, the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. And that's how I am. There's just so much. Sometimes I wish I could live to be 1,000 years old. There's just so much that I want to learn there, and so much I want to learn. We're never going to grow old of learning, being teachable. And then page 80 and 81, be grateful. This is a fitting topic going into the holiday season. What about that? Let's talk about being grateful for a little bit. Anything in there stick out to you guys?
I loved what he went through in that top paragraph, going through all the things we have to be thankful for and just kind of going down the list, mostly focused on your business, but sometimes we can get discouraged because we're not reaching our goals. We're not moving as fast as we want, growing as fast as we want. But if you're focusing on all the good things, then you start to realize, wow, maybe I'm not making the progress I want, but I've got a lot to be thankful for. And there has been a lot of growth. There is a lot of good things to focus on.
And there really is. And that doesn't mean that we should lay down our goals either at the same time,
Right.
that we shouldn't be moving forward and still pursuing, higher ground and new goals. But yeah, I think it's important to, to celebrate and be grateful for even the littlest things, just even giving thanks for the people on your team, giving thanks for them, giving thanks for all the testimonies that our team has. And there's some amazing life-changing testimonies that we have on our team. It's something to be grateful for and to give thanks for. And it just, I think that one thing I've learned in my life is that grateful people are more creative. They have more energy. They look better. Their countenance is different than someone who's just a sourpuss, all the time. And just grateful people have a way about them. And that's one thing that I think we could do is we could, with our Plexus businesses, people are attracted to gratitude, and if we are indeed grateful people, I think more people will be attracted to us. They'll be attracted to us because I think people are attracted to gratitude. It just makes you look different,
It also affirms the quote right below it by Tony Robbins: when you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. And you're not drawn to people who are fearful and negative, but people who you can see their life has a lot of abundance and they're positive and growing. You are drawn to that. That's charismatic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's such good things in here, and really it's a choice. I mean, gratitude's a choice. I'm just like anybody. I could spend the day being mad about something. That's a choice, or you can get glad, and be grateful and start giving thanks for things. Another thing too, I think, I heard this the other day, and it might fit in here with gratitude, is make a list of all the things that you're afraid of or that are holding you back. Cross off all the ones that you can't control, and then start working on the ones that you can. I think a lot of times things that are outside of our control steal our joy. They steal our gratitude. And we shouldn't give those things that power. Again, I don't have that necessarily 100% figured out, but I'm learning that there's a lot of distractions. And there's a lot of things that'll steal your joy. They'll take your energy. They'll rob your gratitude. And most of them we can't control. So if we really start thinking about the things that we can control, really our world gets a lot smaller and more manageable. Actually, when we're not trying to save the world, life's pretty sweet, So, okay, 81 and 82, be wise. Be wise. Who has something on this section?
This section reminded me of, I don't know if it was the Tuesday night call or if it was the book study a couple weeks ago, when you said that there aren't mistakes, we learn. I don't remember exactly what you said, but you're not failing, you're learning.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's just about perspective. We either win or we learn. I mean, the only time we lose really is when we quit. I think about a couple of guys on my team that, you know, they did some good stuff and then now they're done. They're like, well, what'd you do different than me? Well, I didn't quit. Like, I'm still moving forward and you quit already after like a short period of time. So, I mean, that's something I never did. Even in the valleys, I never quit. But as far as being wise, one thing that really, I guess, stuck out to me in this section was on page 82. And let's see, it's at the top of it's the second sentence, it starts there, but it says, be wise with time and invest time in creating your best self. Do it on a daily basis. Begin right now and be constant. Take small steps every day and keep going until you start seeing results. And then I wrote a note down below it. You may not see, you know, the results right away. You know, it's just like as we're reading a book or if we're exercising, if we're on a diet or, you know, if we're doing a push and on our plexus, you know, if we're doing like a 90-day push or whatever, you know, for a rank, I always 90-day rule is what I wrote down next to it. If you really want to see growth or results in any area of life, do that thing consistently for 90 days and you'll see results. Plexus included. Like if you want to see your team grow, be consistent for 90 days. Really be consistent for 90 days and see what happens. If someone wanted to lose weight or get healthier, change your diet for 90 days without fail, every single day for 90 days, and you'll see results. Same way with exercising, same way with saving money, same way with whatever, just the 90-day rule. But those small steps every day and keep going until you see the results. So anyway, I like the 90-day rule on stuff like that. But the thing is, be wise with our time. I think that's important with our business. We only have so much time, you know, and we need to make the most of it. So when it's time, a boss of mine, another story, all these stories keep coming to mind. So when I was in road construction, I had a boss, is the best boss I ever had, still to this day. He's amazing, still an amazing guy. And he had we'd work 12, 14, 15 hours a day. And most of the men their families were a wreck, right? Mm. But my boss had a great relationship with his kids. And I said, hey, how did you do that? He's like, what do you mean? You know, and no one had ever asked him this question in his 30 years of road construction. I said, I want to know how you did that. You worked more hours than me. You used to sleep in the office and not even go home. You were that dedicated to the job. How did you do that and be excellent at work and still have a solid family that's still together? And he said, I had one rule, and this is about time, but I said, I had one rule. When it was time to work, I worked. And when it was time to go home, I went home. He's like, just basically, wherever you are, be there, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same way with our Plexus business. When it's time to work our Plexus business, it's time to work the Plexus business. Like that should be, if our goals are big and extremely important to us, then that Plexus time needs to be a sacred time, you know, to where this is what I do in this hour or 30 minutes or whatever your schedule looks like. Everybody's schedule is a little bit different, but even if it's 15 minutes of blitzing messages, that needs to become a sacred time if you want to achieve the goals you set for yourself. So how we handle time, I think, is extremely, extremely important in this business. And it takes a lot of discipline.
Mhm.
A lot of discipline. Let's see. How about on 82 and 83? Who's going to show you the way? How about this section?
I think the part where they're saying having a coach before you make all these mistakes and wasting your time kind of goes with the last section with watching your time. And I feel like a lot of our team goes out of their way to help us without actually paying for a coach. You know, there are classes, there's other seminars, there's things, especially like Brooke and Emily, they have all those things. And like the Nashville thing that just happened, you can pay for those things. But I feel like our team, you, Megan, and everybody, you guys do a good job of helping us learn and coaching us without us even paying for those things.
And who else on the coaching side of things here? Anything?
I underlined a few things in this section because I've never been on a team to really have a coach, so I don't know really much about coaching. But the last paragraph, I just said a good coach doesn't tell you what you're doing wrong. I think that would be hard to do, to not be too critical, but a good coach tells you what you need to change. And the example of just the guy hitting home runs and how he just simply watched him. Like there's a lot of, I guess, watch as a coach, you just watch and then you give little pointers that help me.
Linda, you got anything on this section, or Rebecca?
Well, I was typing, but it makes me realize how much that I want to learn to do this better. That yes, I need it myself, but because I do have women who are wanting to be coached and who are seeking to learn, you know, I want to learn how to do this where I can just show them how to do it better, and avoid that criticism in such a way that it, you know, I think you can present something where people feel torn down, or you can present something where they feel inspired. And I always want to try to be on the inspired side of it, but I have a lot of growth to do in that.
Yeah, and I would say a great coach knows how to do both. My coach, I have a coach. I used him for, I met him on Instagram. And we just started talking, and he was a good fit. And he's helped me uncover a lot of things in my life. And I just rehired him. I didn't use him much in 2020. I went to a couple of his events, but and they were great. You know, they were great. They pushed me out of my comfort zone for sure. But the thing, and I just hired him. Well, I just paid him yesterday. So, and then I hired him again for the next few months to help. Just to help me. He asks, the thing I like about him the most is he asks such great questions. And I hate half the questions he asks. Like, those are things I don't want to address. But he is so good at like he knows where to dig. I don't know how he does it, but he really knows how to ask the questions. And because right now I'm resetting my own goals as a diamond, you know, and I'll be vulnerable real quick. You know, I have I have an opportunity. I'll just share it out there. The thing is, if we want to grow, we have to be, if we want more success and more growth, we have to be more vulnerable. And then when we really go for something, that's the most vulnerable because we risk failing, right? And when we risk failing, well, then everybody will see, you know, and so really going for something is one of the most vulnerable things we can do. And that's one reason why we don't go for stuff, is because we don't want people to, you know, because it's a vulnerable position to go out there and go for it. It's a vulnerable position to be a Tom Brady or or anybody out there who really puts themselves out there. That's not a position of power. It's actually a position of vulnerability that leads to power. And so one of the things the coach is helping me with now is what's next for me in Plexus. And so I have an opportunity to, and I haven't wanted to do this mainly because of fear, but I honestly have an opportunity to be the first male double diamond in Plexus. And I feel like the Lord wants me to go for it. And I've been holding back from that, mainly because of fear. You know, what if I don't make it? Or what if so-and-so gets it first? Or what, all the things that all the obstacles we think, like if just because you rank up doesn't mean you don't deal with stuff anymore. Like you just deal with bigger stuff, right? And so you're still dealing with stuff. And but one thing that he's asking me is, you know, he's asking me lots of questions, and it's really helping me. He knows exactly what he's doing. Like he's not just asking random questions. He's asking a question here. Let me, so I can see. So he can ask this question, and then he can like, he knows what he's doing and knows where we're going. But really, he's just helping me to see things that I don't see or I don't want to see. And so I think that's the value of him. He doesn't really tell me what to do a lot of times. He just kind of draws out of me what's already there by asking good questions. And so, so anyway, as far as the coaching thing goes, I have a coach, and he's really been a big help to me. But the thing is, you don't have to, as Sarah was saying, you don't have to pay for a coach. Like a coach is just somebody that you can talk to, that you can bounce things off of. They're going to be honest with you. They're not going to give you any slack, you know, because a good coach doesn't give you slack. If you think of sports, you know, and they ask good questions, and they just help you to see and help you to develop a plan. They don't just sit back and really tell you what to do necessarily, but they help you to develop a plan. And so anyway, I love my coach, and he's great. He's great. So let's go on to page 83 and 84. I'm being resilient. Being resilient. Anybody have anything on that?
You definitely have to have the nose in order to get somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I learned early on that they're not saying no to me. And that was very helpful. Mm-hmm. They're saying no because they don't understand it, or they don't have enough information or whatever. And that was huge. Had I not learned that early, I probably would have just got my 3 and been done.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things. It's one of those obstacles we have to get over. You know, and that obstacle alone right there stops a lot of people in this business. Anything else on that section?
Well, Justin, I see so many parallels between this and the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't know if the author Alex, is a Christian or anything, but okay. But it's like
he's a Mormon.
Spot on.
I think he's a Mormon.
Okay, and I know there's a lot of parallels between Christianity and Mormonism, but doesn't the Bible say you'll have a lot of obstacles, you'll be rejected, and the Lord calls us to be resilient in that fashion as well. So I see a ton of parallels, which helps me understand it more.
Yeah, I think just if you're going to be successful at anything in life, you have to be resilient, right? Like really, even Christian, non-Christian doesn't really. I mean, if you're going to make it through life, you're going to have to be a little bit gritty, right? Because life is life. It can be hard, you know. Life can be tough. We've all been through stuff, right? We're all going through stuff, and we're all got more stuff to go through. It's just the type of planet we live on, you know, and that's just, so we have to be able to bounce back. We have to be able to, you know, when you don't want to move forward, you got to keep moving forward. What are we going to do? Quit? Like, it's not what we do. That's another biblical principle in the book of Hebrews. We're not of those who draw back to perdition. We're those who keep moving forward. That's the clan we're a part of, right? So you know, and in this business, and I've said it before, and this business is not for wimps. I think a lot of people think that this business, you just, you know, maybe even someone who's a diamond or whatever, they just float in with their golden and their white robe, and they get their people for the month, and then they just float back off into wherever. It's just not the case. Like, this business is not for wimps. You gotta get some thick skin, even dealing with the nose there, Sarah, right? I mean, and you just have to be tough. Like, this can be a tough business. At least that's been my journey so far. You know, it hasn't always been easy, but we haven't quit, and we don't expect to anytime soon. There's still a lot more people to help. So, but one thing I did like what he said is, make sure to connect first and find out their needs before you offer anything. I think that's so important. When I first started, I didn't do that. Every time I met someone, I thought I needed to close that person right then and there. And some of them I did. But what I learned over time, one is I didn't like the way I felt with that approach. Whether I was signing people or whether I wasn't, I didn't feel like I was doing it with integrity. So I had to change the way I did stuff. So even now, when I meet someone, I'm just meeting someone. Like, if I meet someone on vacation or whatever, or at a line or wherever, I'm just meeting another human being. I'm not trying to close them. I might not even tell them that I work for Plexus at all, right? Like, I'm just trying to make a connection. I'm not trying to close the person. I mean, there might be time down the road where I'll close that person. But really, I need to know the person and get to know them and see if there's a need that I can help them meet. Maybe it is Plexus. Maybe it's Jesus. Maybe they need a business, you know, who knows? Maybe they need the name of one of my friends who runs another business or what, but really just finding out, you know, over time what the person needs and being patient. I think that that's extremely important in this business. I really do. And then the next thing says, people like to follow positive and enthusiastic people. No one likes to follow negative or pessimistic people, at least not in this industry. And this is why I don't post about politics anymore. It's a waste of my time. I voted, it was stolen, someone else, whatever, right? So I did my part, right? I can't control these other things. I can pray. But I mean, just getting on Facebook and just posting and just like whining and complaining. No Facebook post has ever changed anything in the political realm, ever. And it won't. It's for people who sit on the couch and do nothing. Like, so if you do want to change something politically, there are things and channels that you can go through to make a change. But social media is not it, right? And people see that, and people are kind of so over it. So if we're trying to sell something and we're talking about personal growth and, oh, I love who I become, and then when people scroll your Facebook feed, it's like, ugh, I don't want to be around. I mean, they're not going to come to a person who's negative and whining and complaining all the time, and they just won't. Especially if he's true about those. A lot of people that start in this business start because they want to become a better person. They're not going to come to you if that's what your Facebook feed looks like, you know? So anyway, that's my thought on that. I do have very strong opinions politically, though, by the way. I just don't post them on Facebook. Now, the 84 and 85, sharpen your saw constantly. Anything in there stick out to you guys?
Well, I just got trained on this. Isn't it Zig Ziglar? It's like one of his books, The 7 Habits or something. To sharpen your saw. And I'll say I haven't always done a good job of that. Well, maybe this is a little bit different than Zig Ziglar, but that's something he brings up, is to like sharpen yourself. Personal growth is what it means in education, how we learned about that. But I agree with all of this, the steps 1 through 5. I agree with that on page 85. And it takes some time to learn to master that, I think. So time.
Yeah, it does. There's always tweaks too to it. I mean, there's always things you learn. There's certain things that work, like certain events that you do online that work, and all of a sudden they quit working. So you start doing messenger events, and then you start doing, like, we've had to retweak a lot of the things that we do. Then you do coaching calls, and then all of a sudden that doesn't work, or a book study, and then all of a sudden you go from like 40 to 5, right? And so like you're constantly tweaking those things as well, really. So anything else stick out to you guys in those 2 pages?
I think it really struck me that you need to teach them the basics first, and then you can help them work on personal growth. I think the more that I grow, the more I recognize things in people, negativity, ungratefulness, those kinds of things, right? But maybe they're not ready for that right off the bat. And I certainly wasn't. And that's something I need to remember, that, you know, what was I ready for at the very beginning, and what did I need at the very beginning? And then what led me into going deeper and deeper in developing this sense of wanting to grow and grow a business and create goals and dream big and all of those things. And that's a process that I need to allow my people to go through as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, I agree. And I think, and one thing I'll say is, a lot of times we want to, it's like, oh, you can't go silver. Okay, here's a book. Fix yourself, you know, whatever. And I don't think that's the right answer. I think that most of the coaching really needs to be not really about personal growth, honestly. I really don't. And I love personal growth. I love reading things. I love learning. I love making adjustments in my own life. But quite honestly, reading every book on my shelf, like I have, I don't know, 60, 70 books like right here. And they're great books. Those books do me no good if I'm not talking to people about plexus. Those books, as far as my business is concerned, those books are worthless if I'm not doing the daily work. The majority of people that are stuck, or they're not growing or whatever, the majority probably don't have a personal growth problem yet. They have a discipline problem and they're not consistent doing the daily stuff. So, I mean, I talk to a lot of people. Again, I'm a big fan of personal growth. But if you really want personal growth, start making calls. You'll grow. You'll grow faster than reading a book. You get someone, say no, or, whatever, accuse you of something. You'll grow. That's where the real growth is by working the business. So when a lot of people, if someone says, I can't attract business builders, I automatically, if you've heard me anytime ever on any of those coaching calls, I'll ask the same question every single time. Are you telling people about the business? Well, no. Well, they don't even know that you have a business. Like, it's not really a personal growth issue. Like, do the work. And so I talk to, as I talk to a lot of people, like, well, my business really isn't growing. How many people did you talk to about Plexus today? Well, I mean, I didn't talk to anybody today. Okay, well, what about yesterday? Yeah, well, not yesterday. Well, when? Well, I've been unplugged for a while. Yeah, well, like, I don't know if we think people are just going to flock to us, like be standing outside of our door, like waiting to sign up. That just doesn't work. Again, I'm not against personal growth. I love personal growth. This book that we're reading is really about personal growth, but a lot of the major issues is, like he says, the basics, the what and the how. People need to be doing that first, and then we can work on, let that be the discipline. Let work be the foundation, and then we can start making tweaks on ourselves. But we have to be able to have these disciplines down of just talking to people on a regular basis. It's just the way it is. I don't know. And another thing on 85, it says the most successful people are those who take action immediately, even if they don't have all the information, or even if they don't understand every single detail from the beginning. And I know that to be personally true. That's why one of the reasons why Megan is so much further along than me, she acts immediately. Like, I'll be sitting in here thinking for a couple of days, like about something or some incentive or something. Like, I'm like, I was thinking about, there we go. I'll be sitting here for a couple of days thinking about something, and I'm like, I was thinking about this. She's like, that's a great idea. It'd be less than like 5 minutes and she's already posted it, or like, she acts immediately. Like, oh, that's a good idea, let's go. I'm like, you didn't even think about like the ramifications or any like negatives about posting that? No, but she acts immediately. And that's been very, very good for her in her business. And that would be very good for all of us in our businesses, to act immediately, especially when someone comes to mind about who to reach out to, or, something along those lines. Because if we're asking, let's say if we're asking God to send us people who need our products, our business opportunity, and some random person that you haven't thought about in like 3 years pops up in your mind, hello, like, what do you like? Here you go. Like, I wonder why I'm thinking about Susan. I haven't thought about her since high school. You just asked. Let's act on that. It's not a coincidence. At least write their name down to reach out to them when you can, if you can't do it right that minute. So acting immediately will really boost our business. And the last little section, it's already 8 o'clock. Your growth happens at events. What do you guys got on this last little section here?
Well, I think that I agree. And I think, with all of 2020 and the shutdowns and not being able to be in person and everything going virtual, I personally have been like, I have felt the difference. Like, I looked forward to Super Saturday in person and convention in person and leaders in person. And we didn't get any of that. And, I hadn't really thought about it, but it just kind of hit me that is one piece of the puzzle of what I went through last year, that I didn't have that energy. I didn't have that input from being around that. And I'm sorry, sitting on my bed watching convention, it's just, yeah, it's not the same at all. And I'm not in a position where I could host something. We're spread out all over the place. So when I got to go in person to a small gathering in June to convention versus last year, like, it was hugely impactful for me. And then the realization that other than the diamond whose house I was at and her husband, I was the highest ranking person. And like, that blew my mind. And that was like a whole mindset thing I had to deal with and work through. And so it was good. And I do think that in-person events, there's just something very, very significant about that. And I think corporate events, but also hosting something and having people, and that's where I think a Zoom can be energizing like that, because you can get the interaction. But yeah, in person, I just think there is something very powerful about that if it is the right event and the right people. Obviously, like you talked about your event and the things that happened with that diamond that you saw, and that, that's not a good example. That's an example of what not to do, right? But I just think that it's very, very much, I agree with this, because it does renew and revive our vision and our energy for what we've signed on for. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think events, in-person events are the best. Like the ones that the corporate does, whether it's convention, leaders retreats, whatever, the Diamond Destination, Emerald Extravaganza, they're all great. And one thing that since the beginning, since our first big event that we ever went to, Megan earned actually, and I went as her guest, her skeptical guest, back in 2015, and it was a leaders retreat. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I think it was from that point on, we just said, I was working the business at that point, but, I think it was after that, I think that we decided that if there's a corporate event, we're going. Like, and we weren't, any major league rank at that point at all, but we made a decision early on, if there's an event, we're going to be there. And that's something that we've done. We've prioritized events. And quite honestly, every convention, every leaders retreat, every single one of them has been a turning point in our business and our mindset. So they're just great. They're great to be around. They're all a little bit different. Convention's big and everybody and their brother is there, and there's 10, 12,000 people. It's great. Leaders retreat's a little bit smaller, and people that are there earned the trip. So it has a little bit of a different feel to it. Conventions is kind of like the Wild West, but a leaders retreat's a little bit more, I don't know, it's just different. It just has a different feel to it because everybody has worked to earn that trip. And then when you go to like Emerald Extravaganza, it's even a smaller pool. And then Diamond Destination is even smaller pool. And so all of them are important. Leaders Retreat's my favorite, I think, but out of all of them. But I think that they're all important, and each one of them has really been a turning point in our mindset and in our business. And one thing I'd say that's been really helpful for us is that we used to go, like if we went to a convention, let's say convention ended tonight and everybody goes home tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. What we've started doing the last 3 years, or I guess 4 years maybe, after an event, we'll stay one extra night. And just so we can, because otherwise you forget half the stuff that you learned, because you're excited and then you go home and reality hits you in the mouth and it's like, now what, so we take that extra day to at wherever the event is. And then we really go through our priorities. Okay, what are the top, we heard 3 days worth of awesome stuff, but what are really the top 3 things that we really need to work on? And just kind of focus on those, because I used to come home with a list of like 100 things. I'm going to change all this, and man, my life's going to be perfect from here on out. And it just didn't. It's too overwhelming. But really, just take like the top couple of high priority things that I learned, and then we just apply those, and we see more growth that way, actually. But yeah, the events are fun. I like the music, the lights. I'm not much of a dancer, but the people dancing, Tarl and Alec being just awkward on stage. It's just awesome. I love everything, every bit of it. I just love it. So I would go to every event you can go to. So guys, that is all we've got for tonight. Any last thoughts before we sign off? We're a few minutes over here. Sorry about that. But any last minute thoughts or ideas you have on this chapter?
Are we meeting next week?
Well, that's a great question. Next week is it's the last chapter of the book, but it's also the night before Thanksgiving.
Right.
Well, you 5 get a vote. What do you want to do? All the rest of them, they have to do what we decide tonight. So
I know I wouldn't be able to do it next week because we're hosting and I'll be cooking, and
okay.
it just wouldn't work.
What about the rest of you? What do you want to do?
It's probably not the best for me either. We're kind of cooking the night before, and it's kind of a busy night.
I'll have a house full also. This chapter though is what, 6 pages? Maybe we could just do it Tuesday night right after the coaching call.
We can do it, if you guys, that's not a bad idea. We can do it Tuesday. Let's see, that's at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
We could do it before or after, 7 to 8 or 9 to
You may
10.
not even need a whole hour because it literally is 6 pages with pictures and, might be a half hour instead of an hour.
What do you guys, does that sound good to do it?
I vote for after, personally,
Okay.
because I have a Bible study before.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
After is fine.
After Rebecca, what about you? Linda, Sarah?
I don't know that I can do Tuesday either because we have company starting Tuesday. So I will watch the recording if that's what y'all decide to do.
Okay, Linda and Sarah, what about you guys?
I think I'd be fine with either way, before or after.
Sarah, what about you? You got the little squeaker there.
No kidding. I think probably, I don't know. I'm just better earlier in the night. I get tired.
Yeah,
I don't know. 7 to 8 would be my pick.
all right, that'll be it. We'll do 7 to 8 on Tuesday night, chapter 7, called Take Massive Action. So, guys, I'm thankful for all of you to be on here. Have a happy Thanksgiving next week, and then we will see you Tuesday before Thanksgiving, right? Perfect. All right. Have a good night, guys. See ya.